Hello, welcome. And this is Pragmatic Talk. My name is Mugabe Larry, and with me is JC. And we are here to speak about the BRICS. It's a very interesting topic, and we want to see who will become the superpower and who's not going to become the superpower, America or China or Russia. Welcome, and I hope we can discuss some of the matters that you've wanted to really be summarized. That's what we do. And how does Africa come into the equation, isn't it? That's how we come in also as Africa. Welcome once again and enjoy the show. Make sure that you do not forget to subscribe and follow us on all the social media pages because once you do that, you become family. Let's start. Hello, JC. How has been your week?
Well, thank you very much for hosting me today again. Before we go ahead, I would like to tell the audience that our personal opinions,
Yes.
of course, they are analyzed based on logic and data we have from the market, but you should do your own research to confirm what we're talking about. Nothing we are talking about here is definite truth. Yeah, so my week has been good. And again, we're here excited to, discuss with the audience and with you few things that we see what will happen when all of a sudden there is a switch from US dollar to a yuan or to a big currency or to any other sort of currency. And how would Africa what would be the price of Africa in that? Well, it's very much possible, but it's going to take very much time, in my own view, and it's going to be something we can't be sure exactly how it will unfold because there is a lot of things that have to be modified. Let's, for example, start with the possibility in case yuan would become the global currency. First of all, you know very well that Chinese yuan is not traded on global markets, not traded. Yeah, and the government of China has been having the rules and the regulation that govern and restrict how much money you can export and how much money in terms of yuan you can take out, or even you can take out. So and so many other measures like pegging it. Well, they say they pegged it to dollar or controlling how much higher it can go. Maybe people don't know that actually sometimes having a weak currency is an advantage. But
An advantage to who? Basically to the people or to the government?
in most cases, it both. For example, when a currency is weak, it makes the labor very cheap,
Okay.
which makes your exports very competitive on the global market, whereby you can see that the Chinese have dominated the global markets. They export almost everything. So
is it genuine? Are they being genuine or they are using underhand competition method?
So investors, some of them have things that they accuse them, like manipulating their currency in a way they don't allow it to grow as it should be, so that they remain, they remain the biggest exporter, because the Chinese economy is a export export-based economy, whereby most economies are just import-based. There are so many measures and things they have been able to do, which some investors have not loved, or maybe some global other countries have not loved. I don't know whether it's right or wrong. I don't want to put any personal opinion on that, because first of all, we don't even know who determines what's right or wrong. Those are their own things. But what I know is that they have done things that control how much quick it can be able to grow. So, and that has given them an advantage to be able to export, to control how much they can be able to export.
But when you also look at how the US dollar came in to become a reserve currency, you find that there was some manipulation of some ethics, whereby it used to be banked against gold, and then all of a sudden it was just declared that it is based on trust. So you find that also there are no levels You cannot have a leveled ground. Somehow there must be manipulation game. So if we talk about de-dollarization and also the dollar being the main currency in the world right now, how did it come to be? Could you shed some light about that?
Well, to first talk about what you just talked about, being backed by the gold and what. Me, I'm not for the dollar or anything, but what I'm saying, even having, I don't even understand why any currency should be backed by something that is infinite. Because gold is infinite. It's only a matter of access, but gold is infinite. We don't know how much gold that the earth has. Because even if it remained like that, that means whoever had much gold would still dominate. And to be honest, they had more gold than any other country. You know that they had a lot of reserve of that. So let's say it was remained to be pegged on dollar. That means countries would now start fighting for that gold. You understand? And that means all of a sudden countries will start going, like coming in Africa where we know that we have a lot of gold, or maybe fighting going to Mars. They say Mars has a lot of gold, we don't know, and then they would be able to still control. That would be something that I think that wouldn't be nice. That's why I'm for cryptocurrencies, because it's about trust and it's decentralized. That's why I like those. I like Bitcoin. I like I like it so much. So we know there is a lot of things that governments do to their currencies in terms of like using inflation to keep people, to some level, increasing the, the rates so that they can be able to sometimes appear they are controlling the inflations and what, printing money, how much money they print or not. All those are the things maybe we are not talking about today, for another day. We shall go deep down into economics behind that, why and when do government print money and why do they do it. So there is nothing fair, there is nothing like a totally transparent, but sometimes something could be more transparent than the other. For example, I don't understand why you can't be able to trade, countries if they trust their currency. How much? Why should they restrict how much money? Even if you are a citizen, there is how much money you can be able to take out of the country. You understand? That's something I want you to think about. If you were the one who stayed there, you had a X amount of money, you want to move out with it. Would you like it if someone told you no, you're not allowed to take this much money, yet it's yours?
I wouldn't, of course. So let's come back to the BRICS. Will they make it? Is it a war they will win or not?
I don't think they are going to win. If they are to win, it's going to take a very, very, very long time.
Why?
Because we don't see any current alternative to dollar right now. I don't see any. Like, so far, at least they have the most. The US dollar has the most transparent way, in a way. For example, you can know how much money the US printed. Their balance, the Central Bank of America is balance sheet is known, but not many countries that they expose how much money they print. You understand? We tend to think should be, yeah. Of course, printing money is not also something that I should support, because I told you already, I'm a person who likes Bitcoin more than any other currency. That could be, if you want to know me why I support it more than any other currency, topic for another day. If Yuan was to become, was supposed, it was to become the global currency, there is a lot of things we have to change. For example, if for example you liked something, you liked some product that was made by someone, you can easily go and fake it, and you understand. In other words, they have been accused of copyrights. You understand? Those are the things that I think, to someone to be a global leader, you have to take the first step and you put them in place.
So how do you think they will operate if it is not one? What are they going to? They are coming up with their currency.
Probably, much likely, it has been even in news that they may just not choose to use the Chinese yuan, and that also would speak much about economies, you understand? Because what would countries, we have like members of the countries, why wouldn't they then choose, okay, let's put ours ahead? Maybe, well, so you would also wonder why wouldn't then China then push for it to be it instead? So what is in the news is that uh, they want to create another sort of currency. But again, me, I would wish the only way that I think that would be so much easy to facilitate transparency, they would at least establish some sort of stable coin or some blockchain based currency. There they will get a lot of supporters, and it's very much easy to get investors behind them. And then they open that currency for trading, free trades. People can, can move it anywhere as much as they want. For currencies to be able to come together, all people, countries to, like for example here in East Africa, if we say the whole East Africa using one currency, it's always something very good. It's always something good for us because it facilitates the trades and the inflow and outflow of goods from a country to another, and so many other things that can be able to be done. But for that to happen, there must be total transparency of everything that is happening. But not many countries are willing to expose such kind of information. You understand? Yeah. So, and if we get back to the Chinese yuan, if it became the global, I would wish as an African, because me, the reason why China is one of the biggest, manufacturers, because they have cheap labor, and the reason why they have cheap labor is because one of the reasons is because they have a weak currency, and they have kept it weak intentionally. It's not a mistake that their currency is weak. So they kept it weak for that reason, to be able to, to have so many advantages that many countries with strong currencies cannot be able to have. So now, if their currency was to become so transparent and become easily traded like all other currencies, that would cause it to grow. It would cause it to go up, and then their labor would be expensive, and then their product would be no longer much competitive on the global landscape. Probably that's why I see gap for Africans. We have the cheapest labor than any country in the world. Some people are working for $2 a day, sweating the whole day from morning to evening. No,
less than $1. Yeah.
so now I'm not for this kind of slave labor, no, but I'm trying to say, if that was to happen, that means Africans now can take grab of that advantage. Maybe they can be able to open borders, and then they do free trade. They open, free flow of information, free flow of exports and imports, and then they would be able to welcome, they would be able to enable original equipment manufacturer, whereby, like you see, original equipment manufacturer is whereby a company like Apple can come to Uganda and tell them, hey, we want you to manufacture for us iPhones. You know that iPhones are made in China, and one of the reasons is because they have talents. Yeah, they have talents, and then they have cheap labor. So when borders are open, Africa can be able to attract talent. When the Chinese yuan is very strong in a way that they exports are very expensive, that means we can be able to establish ourselves. We can be able to open companies that do original equipment manufacturers. We can start making things for Apple. We can start making things for Nestle. We can start making things for Unilever. We can start making beauty product for L'Oreal, for many other products. Many companies, like whether in fashion, whether in food, they would come to make their products in Africa, and that would be our advantage. So that's what I can say for that.
So, in your opinion, what's making the US lose?
USA hasn't yet lost at all, because uh, they still have, like, the whole, the biggest stock exchanges in the US, New York Stock Exchange. So And another thing I want to touch here, you know, most countries hold debts, and they hold debts in what? In dollars. I'm very sure if you consulted even Uganda, you will find it owes money to China, but it's not owing it to China in your Chinese yuan. It's owing it in dollar. You would wonder, why did China, which has its own currency, borrowed money to Uganda in dollars, not in Chinese yuan? You understand? So knowing that there is too much money, and by the way, the biggest US dollar holder on the global market is China in terms of trillions. Now, just think about it for a short moment. If all of a sudden the US dollar halved, actually China would be the biggest losers because they hold a lot of dollars than any other country in the world. You understand? And all the debts, like even the debt that Uganda owes to it, it would be all of a sudden half. You understand?
Yeah,
So
like
that the
those
most
billions in
people,
dollars, all of a sudden,
it would become what you need to know. Even China itself wouldn't like the dollar to just sharply declining instantly because they know they hold a lot of assets in US dollar. They have borrowed a lot of money to African countries, even to US itself in dollars. So you understand how tricky that thing is.
so
You,
that means they need time to recoup what they lent.
that would take a lot of time. Think of in 30, 40, 50. And we don't know now what measures would now US now be able, because if someone has all that time, you don't know how they can now reverse, what kind of actions or measures they want to do to
But
be able
also,
to.
if you put in factors like some of the aspects that are happening right now, like China trying to annex Taiwan, if anything happens, then the money can be frozen, like that of Putin was frozen in the US. So once they look at such aspects, I think they would be looking at how to lose the money, yes, but also dominate the economics of the world. That can also be a game changer in a way.
Yeah, that's true. If China was to become a global leader immediately, they would require some sort of behavior change, which is not easy, by the way. People have got used to living as the Chinese citizens have got used to living a life of exporting, being like a Chinese, like a export based first, then import based second. That would require a lot of change in the psychology of Chinese people. We know very well, for example, if every citizen of the world was to live the way US people live, we would require at least 40 planets Earth to balance with the resources that Earth has. We would need the 40 Earths to be able to feed the people, because those people are big consumers. Now, what do you think all of a sudden now the Chinese people now become the biggest consumer? Now we have over 1.4 billion above that. Now they are consumers like USA. We would have, I think we have also a problem of resources. Are there resources to be able, isn't it going to now to cause people to make more poor people than to create more rich people than should be? This is me thinking out loud. Now, with that, I want you to tell me what you think. What do you think would happen?
It would be terrible if the consumption. What drives the consumption for somebody to be a more consumer than the other? What drives that? Because the economy is built for you to spend the money, or
yes. Now, for people to be able to spend more, they are making a lot of money. You understand? So that's why when governments want to control how people consume money, they increase interest rates, and that can be able to control the inflations. What? If all of a sudden that happened, that means people would have to adapt, or some people would start to go to other countries. Of recent, I saw some tweet from this guy called Program, this founder of Y Combinator. He posted that he asked his friend I don't know whether it was a survey that was done or what, but they say that over 90% of people who are 25, the smartest people, 25 years old in China, they all would like to go to USA. You understand? They want to shift, they want to go to USA. Why? Because they want that kind of freedom. But you know, China, they don't have that kind of freedom that would, you know, that would help, their young people to remain there. Because if they want to be those papa, one of the things they will have to also adopt is freedom of speech. Number one, freedom of speech, freedom of doing. They would then, like, in China, there are these cameras that are even installed in people's compound. You have to be censored. Everything you speak or do has to be censored there. You understand? All that would have to stop. You can't predict how much all that will affect those citizens. You don't know how that will be able to unfold. But I think the only way, the best way I think China can be the superpower is to remain the way it is, keep controlling, keep harvesting money, keep increasing the resources and what, and it will happen naturally. But not by forcing them, or anything that forces them to now say, okay, become a global currency immediately.
Well, we've seen all the African leaders coming in to support the dollarization, and I'm seeing a movement happening slowly, and I don't know how much is being invested in, but something is happening, and also crypto, blockchain, all these are coming in.
Yeah, blockchain, I would support if they switch to blockchain. That would be so much better.
Okay, let's say, why would we support blockchain for the first time?
Because blockchain is transparent. Is transparent. By nature is transparent. I'm not talking about blockchain if it was decentralized blockchain. It is so transparent in a way all the transactions are evident, you understand? And good thing, for example, if they adopt a currency like a Bitcoin has a limited supply. Well, that has a downside too, I know, because it is very hard then now to control inflation. Let's say all of a sudden things become so expensive on the market, you understand? And then the government want to increase the supply so that they can be able to be able to control inflation. I don't know. I have not come to see what would happen in that kind of context if all of a sudden things became so expensive. All of a sudden people, because when the currency is appreciating, this is what I'm thinking right now, when the currency is appreciating, people tend not to consume money. They tend to keep it for the future. You understand? And now all of a sudden people stop buying things. They are holding money instead of what? Instead of spending it. What do you think happens to economies? Just think about it. There is a lot of things that can happen. The solution to this, I think I would say, government can think of adopting two currencies. That one is made to spend, another one is made to do what? To invest, or to like one is made to come in where another one becomes weak. I would say, like, economies, if they would be able to adopt, to allow people to use cryptocurrencies and then they empower people, that would be able to give some hand to governments to be able to control those kind of information, those kind of like inflation, and when people are holding money instead of spending it. I mean, I think the solution should be like government should be open to currencies. They shouldn't dump their currencies, but now they can adopt two currencies that are running at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we wind up, BRICS and dollar, how would you really wind up this talk?
I mean, this can't be fully be analyzed in one talk show like this. Maybe we can, since we have limited time, we can now, or the next time talk, we can talk about the economics that lies behind every concept we have talked about here. Like, I've been asking you a question, what you think about it. Now, when we come back to part 2, we would need to now think about those questions. What would happen if this happened? And all those, of course, are just speculations. 2, I think if the BRICS have to switch, it is going to take time. It's going to take time. And it's going to take very many years for the dollars to lose out. to any other currency that's coming. We also have currencies which are really good, like euros, the pounds. Unfortunately, I don't know why the Chinese yuan hasn't yet fully opened the way other currencies are open, that people can be able to trade it, buy it, or sell it anytime they want, even to trading platforms that can be it can be listed, like the way you see Japanese yen. So I mean, all those are the things that that we will need maybe to go deep in the next part 2. 3, Africa should now start positioning themselves by now, like opening borders. Let's open borders and then put up rules and regulation that make sense. There is too much stupid laws in Africa. I'm telling you, too much stupid laws that don't make sense at all. I'm not to point to any, but one clear sign would be if you wondered why people leave Africa. They have been in poverty for like 20 years. All of a sudden, someone switches, goes to UK, and all of a sudden they are multi-millionaires in pounds. What was all along holding them to be rich? It's rules and laws, because you find countries have, like for example, I'm gonna talk. Nah, I'm not going to mention it because just for my sake, I was going to give you one example, but let me keep it there. You find it's very hard to to start companies. They don't support young people. They don't put laws that facilitate young people to create companies all of a sudden. If that was to take place, that means now young people would start innovating, start putting up industries. And all of a sudden, we start attracting big companies to start coming to contract them to, to manufacture for them. You understand? All of a sudden, we start hearing the big companies like Google coming to manufacture things from Uganda. They will start coming to manufacture things from Burundi, the Congo. You see, these things that these mines like the coltard or which are those guys are using to make chips, computer chips, or extracting them from Congo, taking them to Taiwan or anywhere to make them. All of a sudden, if the Africans were enabled to do that, they would now be able to manufacture them, and those companies, those big corporations, would start coming to subcontract them. They would start buying from us. So I'm saying with this, African countries should position themselves in a way that if there is a switch, let it be a switch for Africa, not for any other thing. Yeah.
Thank you very much for being part of today's show, and we are always glad that you've been with us. We look forward to the next show, and we hope you join us to know more about the BRICS and the rest of the economics of this world and how Africa can really benefit. Subscribe, share, and let's create a community of wisdom, wiseness that's always spreading, isn't it?
Yes.
Have
Yes.
a great time.